भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप गदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं सद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताक स्वामिनित नामने नमः आचार्य पदाय निताय कृपा प्रदायने गौरकथा नाम नगर राम। Yeah. Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome to our, regular weekly Srimad Bhagavatam class. Uh, Please accept my humble obeisances, and to all the Vaishnavas who have assembled for this katha, and my sincere gratitude to all of you and to Soumya Prabhu and Premnath Prabhu for giving me this opportunity to purify myself. Right. So, before we get into the discussion today, and also my Wi-Fi is not working. I've connected through mobile hotspot. So, in case you don't hear me well or if there are audio issues, please forgive me and please let me know so that I can correct it. I can try to correct it. Okay. So, before we begin our Bhagavatam class, we'll just try to understand, as we generally tend to do, right? The glories of hearing. Why are we hearing, this early on a weekend, early morning? Why did we get up? Why are we discussing about the Lord, right? So, recently we celebrated Ganesha Chaturthi, and there are a lot of pastimes of Lord Ganesha from various Puranas, Padma Puran, Skanda Puran, Ganesh Puran, various Puranas, which explain the significance of Lord Ganesha in all our lives, whether it is materialistic people or even devotees. Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, he mentions the worship of Ganesha. Right. And even in front of Chaupati Mandir, we have Ganesha. Even in front of ISKCON, prominent ISKCON temple, we have Lord Ganesha. So Ganesha is a very important personality, and there are a lot of pastimes which talk about his position with respect to the Lord, relevance for Vaishnavas, what he can bestow upon us, all of those aspects. But there's one aspect of Ganesha, one pastime of Ganesha, which is very, very prominent, especially in terms of glorifying the importance of hearing Harikatha. Right, and this has been shared by many Vaishnavas, like His Grace Shubha Vilas Prabhu, His Grace Amarendra Prabhu, in multiple classes. But reflecting about this pastime, it gives us faith and inspiration to hear Harikatha, right? And this pastime comes in the Ganesh Puran. Uh, we know that Lord Ganesha is his position as the Adipati. He's offered the first worship in any celebration, whether it is an auspicious ceremony or an inauspicious ceremony, right? Whether marriages, housewarming, any starting of any material endeavor or any of the samskaras, right? From the Garbhodan samskar to Namakaran, Annaprasanna, right? Till the end, even the Shraddha samskar, all of that, right? All of those samskaras, first worship is offered to Lord Ganesha. Now, the question is, how did Ganesha get this position of prominence? How did he get the position of being the Adipati? Right? And the pastime connected to that is in the Ganesh Puran, where once Lord Shiva, he called all the Devi Devatas and he told them that we'll have a transcendental race. The race is that you have to circumambulate the entire universe three times, and whoever completes this first, they will get the position of being the Adipati. Now all the Devi Devatas came, And this is not the usual pastime where the other pastime, which is very popular, where Ganesha just walked around his parents and said, "You're my world." Right? This is very similar, but not the same. But in this instance, all the Devi Devatas, they came, all 33 crore Devi Devatas, and they came with, their carriers. Some had swans, which were very fast, which used to fly at very fast speed. Some came on their, like Indra came on his Airavat elephant, Gayatri Devi, she came on her lion, right? So in this way, they came on their powerful carriers. And then Ganesha said, I also want to participate. And he came there. But his carrier was a Mushika. And that Mushika was so small, that mouse was so small, and Ganesha was so huge, right? That as soon as Ganesha came there, everybody started laughing, looking at him. "Huh, even you've started to run. How can you win this race?" Right? And Ganesha also realized, I can't win with this rat, which is so small, which is so slow, and it keeps wandering aimlessly looking for some food, right? So I can't win him with this carrier. Now, if Ganesha thinks he can just run by himself, that is also not very easy because Ganesha has a huge belly, right? He is Brahmana Modaka Priya. He loves eating sweets. And the result of all those sweets is this huge belly, which makes him very cute. But with that belly, those of us who have even smaller bellies, we understand it's not very easy for us to run. Imagine with that huge belly to run is very, very difficult. But still, he thought, let me give it a try. And all the Devi Devatas, they were laughing, they were making a fool of him, but still he thought, okay, let me try. Now the race started. All the Devi Devatas ran so far ahead of Ganesha. They just went so far, and Ganesha is sweating and struggling to even put a few steps together. He's walking. There was a catch in this race. From the opposite side, Narada Muni was coming. And Narada Muni was, when the Devi Devatas, they saw that Narada Muni, a pure Vaishnava, is coming from the other side, they had a dilemma whether to stop and take the blessings of Narada Muni or to not waste time and continue running. Now, they could have stopped and taken the blessings if it was anybody else, but it is a pure Vaishnava like Narada Muni. Now, the problem with a Vaishnava of the stature of Narada Muni is that they give their blessings in the form of Harikatha. And we know that Harikatha never ends on time, right? No matter how much restrictions we keep on time, it always ends up overshooting. And people like Narada Muni Mahajan, when they start speaking about Harikatha, there are certain times when they tend to go into ecstasy, and you have to wait until they come back into consciousness again, right? So they thought, oh, this is very tricky. It's okay, let's ignore Narada Muni and let's run ahead. We are committing Vaishnava Aparadh, but that's okay. When we win the race and we become the Adipati, we'll fall at the lotus feet of Narada Muni and we'll beg forgiveness from him. And Narada Muni is a pure Vaishnava. He's compassionate. He's very forgiving. He will forgive us. He'll let us go. So they thought, and all the Devi Devtas ignored Narada Muni. They turned their face the other side and they ran ahead. And Narada Muni kept walking. In the end, he met Ganesha. And now Ganesha can't turn his face and walk past Narada Muni at the pace at which Ganesha is walking. But Ganesha did not want to do that also. He went to Narada Muni. At the moment he saw Narada Muni, he fell at his lotus feet and he begged the blessings of Narada Muni. And Narada Muni said, Ganesha, are you sure what you're doing? If you ask my blessings, my blessings will come in the form of Harikatha and it will delay your chances of winning this race, right? Ganesha said, you're a Mahajan, you're a pure devotee of the Lord. And pure devotees of the Lord carry Krishna in their heart, and they have the opportunity of giving Krishna to us. Right? He's like Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, Vaishnava Thakur, oh hey Vaishnava Thakur, right? Krishna say Tomar, Krishna dite par, Tomara Shakati Ache. Krishna is the property of Vaishnavas, and Vaishnavas, out of their own sweet will, can decide to give Krishna to us. So this is what Ganesha glorifies Narada Muni, and he tells Narada Muni, I might, by staying here and seeking your blessings, I might lose this race, but I will win the mercy of Krishna, and that is more important to me. So you please shower your blessings upon me, right? And Ganesha sits there at the feet of Narada Muni, and Narada Muni becomes very happy, and Ganesha is hearing very carefully. If you see Lord Ganesha, he has two big, huge ears, but his mouth is hidden behind his trunk. So Ganesha is teaching us that before doing kirtanam, before speaking, we should do lots and lots of sharanam. Right? Only then naturally kirtanam will come out. So Ganesha was hearing and Narada Muni started speaking. And Narada Muni said, actually, the only reason why I've come here is to help Devi Devatas in winning this race. I have the secret of how to win this race, and I'm waiting to tell any Deva Devata who would stop and ask for my blessings. I'm waiting to give it to them. But nobody did that. And because you have done it with faith, I'm going to give that blessing to you. And Narada Muni asked Ganesha. So Ganesha, tell me, what is this universe made up of? What are the primary elements of this universe? And Ganesha, he thought about Bhagavad Gita, the 15th chapter, Purushottam Yoga, the 6th verse, where Krishna says, "Na tad bhashayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yadgatvana nivartante tadhama paramam mama." So Krishna says, my eternal world, Golok Vrindavan, is self-effulgent. It does not need fire. It does not need sun. It does not need the moon to illuminate Golok Vrindavan. Now, Ganesha, I thought material world does not need these three things. Now, spiritual world does not need these three things, and material world is the perverted reflection of spiritual world. So, which means in the material world we will need these three things. So, it tells Narada Muni the three primary elements, foundation of this universe is sun, fire, sun, and moon. And then Narada Muni becomes very happy with the intellect of Ganesha, and he tells, "Now, can you tell me what is the prominent name of fire?" Ganesha says there are many names, but the prominent name of fire is Krishanu. And great. So Narada Muni asks, what is the prominent name for sun? He says Bhanu. And what is the prominent name for moon? Ganesha says Himakara. Now Narada Muni says, okay, Krishanu means the sun. What does Kishanu mean? So Ganesha says Kishanu doesn't mean anything, right? There's no word called Kishanu at all. So Narada Muni asked, what makes nothing into fire, Krishanu? So Ganesha said the syllable Ra. And similarly, then Narada Muni asked, what is Bhanu? Ganesha said, there's nothing called Bhanu. Then Narada Muni asked, what makes nothing into sun, Bhanu? Ganesha says the syllable A. And then Narada Muni asks, what is Hikara? And again, Ganesha says nothing. There's no word called Hikara. And Narada Muni says, what makes nothing into the moon, Himakara? And Ganesha says the syllable Ma. So then Narada Muni asks, so what makes nothing into the foundational elements of this material world, this universe? And Ganesha replied, the syllables Ra, A, and Ma, which is Rama, the holy name Ram. So then Narada Muni said, there you go, that is your universe. Ram is your universe. Find Ram and circumambulate him, and you win this race. Now Ganesha is saying, all this is fine, Narada Muni, but Lord Ram is in Ayodhya in the spiritual world. How can I have access to him? How can I go find him? What do I do? So then Narada Muni says, he quotes from the Padma Puran, where he says, Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nityamukto Abhinnatvam Nama Namine. So he says there is Abhinnatvam Nama Namine, no difference between the holy name and the Lord himself. So he says, with your tusk, you write Rama on the sand that you are running and circumambulate it 3 times, and you will win this race. So Ganesha does that. He writes Rama with his tusk, circumambulates 3 times. Nandamani blesses him and goes away. Now Ganesha starts running again. But this time when he's running, he turns back and he sees all the Deva Devatas are far behind and they're sweating and they're trying to run, but they're very, very far. And Ganesha is very close to the finishing line and he wins that race and he becomes Adipati. Right? Now, there are many lessons from this pastime. Right? One lesson is that anybody who puts Harikatha as a priority in their life, they win all the races of their life. All the races of material and spiritual life, they win automatically by prioritizing Harikatha and Harinam in their life. Second lesson is, even if somebody doesn't want fame and glory, if they sincerely listen to Harikatha and have faith in Harikatha, then Krishna will bestow permanent fame and glory to them. Right? In this material world, many people want temporary artificial fame. For that, they do so many things. But if we see the devotees of the Lord, like Prahlad Maharaj, like Pandavas, and recently like Srila Prabhupada, they have unlimited glories, eternal glories, which are continuing, much after they have departed from this world as well. That is because of their sincerity and faith towards Harikatha. The third lesson is that the Devi Devatas were envious of Lord Ganesha, but they could not harm him. They could not their envy did not affect Ganesha because he took shelter in Harikatha. So when we take shelter in Harikatha, the dangerous anarthas of other living entities in this world don't affect us. And the fourth and the most important lesson that we can derive from this pastime is Ganesha did not just win this race to become Adipati, but by seeking the blessings of Narada Muni, Vaishnavas like Narada Muni, he got empowered to spread Krishna's message all over the world. How did he do that? When Vyasadeva wanted to write Mahabharat, he wanted a scribe, and Brahma recommended Ganesh to be that scribe who will write when Vyasadeva is narrating. And in that Mahabharat, there is Bhishma Parva. In Bhishma Parva, there is valuable jewel called the Bhagavad Gita. So Ganesha became that instrument by which he distributed Krishna's name everywhere. Right? And Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita itself, one who gives my name to others is very dear to me. And Ganesha has done that to the entire material world. Right? We tend to distribute one or two books during December book distribution marathon, and we become so happy. Oh, I've done such a wonderful feat. Right? But Ganesha has done so much of distribution of Lord's holy name and distributed Krishna's message, but still he holds Krishna's lotus feet on his head and continues doing his duty. Right? So these are some of the lessons we can learn from Ganesha, and with that inspiration and the seeking the blessings of Lord Ganesha, let us enter into Bhagavatam. Right? Let us discuss Harikatha right now. So, as Soumya Prabhu mentioned, we are discussing from the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam today. Now, just a disclaimer, the first 20-30 minutes of this session, I know I've already passed 20 minutes, but the next 20 minutes of this session, there are going to be a lot of names, lot of shloka numbers, chapter numbers, and all of those things, which might seem very overwhelming, right? But my request to you is, if possible, please try to take a note of these numbers and these names and everything. It will help us in our personal study of this section of Srimad Bhagavatam. But even if some of us are saying, Prabhuji, it's too much to do on a Saturday morning, early morning on a weekend, I can't do all that. Even if we are saying that, it is okay. My request is please just hang in the first 20 minutes of this discussion, because at the end of this discussion, we'll have a Falashruti. And the discussion of that Falashruti is going to be far more sweeter, right? So we'll start with the fourth canto. Now, we saw in the first three cantos, Canto 1 and Canto 2, we saw the introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam, introduction to various concepts of Srimad Bhagavatam, various personalities like Vyasadev, Narada Muni, their lives, Sukadev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj. So all of these prominent peoples, their lives, their prayers, all of that was elaborated in the first two cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we saw that Vidura, he was ousted from Hastinapur. He goes and meets Uddhava, and Uddhava redirects Vidura to Maitreya Muni, and Vidura and Maitreya Muni are having the conversation, which is continuing even in fourth canto. It will go on till the fifth canto. And Vidura and Maitreya Muni, they start by talking about the topic of Sarga, the primary creation done by Mahavishnu, creation of this material universe. Then they talk about Visarga, which is the creation of Brahma, and then Brahma creating this material universe, right? The secondary creation. So after the topics of Sarga and Visarga, Maitreya Muni talks about the descendants of Brahma, Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa, and then their children, right? So that is why this fourth canto Srimad Bhagavatam is called the fourth order of creation. Why the fourth order? Because first is Vishnu, Mahavishnu, then Brahma, then Swayambhu Manu and Shatrupa, and then the children of Swayambhu Manu, his three daughters and two sons, which we are going to talk about right now, right? And we see how they further expanded the population. That is why this canto is called the fourth order of creation, right? Now, this canto, apart from the description of the lives, the dynasties of the children of, Swayambhu Manu, it has a lot of interesting personalities and a lot of beautiful pastimes in store for us. This canto has that practical pastime of Sati, Shiva, and Daksha. It also has Dhruva Maharaj's pastime, Narada Muni's glories. It has the pastime of King Anga and Vena. Then it has the pastime of Prithu Maharaj, who was the partial expansion of the Lord. Then it has the pastimes of the Prachetas and how they achieved success in life. Right? So many diverse varieties of characters, both characters that we can learn from and characters that we should not learn from as well. Right? And there are wonderful prayers in this canto as well, in the form of Rudra Gita. And there's also a wonderful allegorical story, an imaginary fictional story that Narada Muni tells to Prachina Barhi while convincing him to, come out of attachment for Kshatriya life and household life. So Narada Muni tells this wonderful pastime, imaginary pastime of King Puranjana and Puranjani. So all of these are there in store for us in the fourth canto. Now, the overall structure of fourth canto is there are 31 chapters in fourth canto. First seven chapters, they talk about the lineage of the daughters of Manu, the three daughters of Manu, and the Daksha Yaga. Chapter 8 to chapter 12 talks about the activities and glories of Dhruva Maharaj. Then chapter 13 and 14 is continuation of Dhruva Maharaj's dynasty and Anga and Vena, their personality. Then from 15 to 24 is the glories of Prithu Maharaj and all his pastimes, his activities. Then from chapter 25 to chapter 29 is the pastime of Prachina Bari and this imaginary story of Puranjana and Puranjani. And the last two chapters, 30 and 31, is about the sons of Prachina Bari, which is Prachetas, how the Prachetas go out to meditate and they get the mercy of the Lord. This is how the 31 chapters of fourth canto is divided. And today we are going to jump into the first chapter of the fourth canto, which is called Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu. Right? Now, in the third canto, from the 21st chapter onwards, we saw the description of Swayambhu Manu and Shatrupa's children through starting with Mother Devahuti. We saw how Mother Devahuti was married to Kardama Muni. And Swayambhu Manu and Shatrupa, they had five children, three daughters, two sons. The three daughters' names were Devahuti, Akuti, and Prasuti. And the two sons were Uttanapad and Priyavrata. And from third canto, 20th chapter, till the fifth canto, 15th chapter, is the description of the lives and pastimes of these children of Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa. Right? So, in the third canto, from 21st chapter till the last 33rd chapter, we saw the uh, life of Mother Devahuti, how she had nine daughters and one son, and that son was Kapila Muni, and we saw the teachings of Lord Kapila. Now, in this chapter, fourth canto, first chapter onwards, we will see the dynasty of the two other daughters, Akuti and Prasuti. Right? Now, Maitreya Muni, he started describing the glories of these children, this dynasty of Swayambhu Manu and Shatrupa to Vidura. And he spoke about Devahuti, then he spoke about Akuti, then he speaks about Prasuti. And then he tells that Prasuti's 16th daughter was Mother Sati, but Mother Sati did not have any children. And Vidura stops Maitreya Muni and asks him, why is that? Everybody else had children. And Prajapati means, they are the creators of progeny. They make progeny, and they are so powerful that they can create population in thousands. Right? They're empowered by Brahma to do that. And why did they not have children? Daughter of Prajapati not have children. So then Maitreya Muni says it's because of a family problem. Father-in-law and son-in-law had a fight, had a problem. Because of that, Mother Sati, she committed suicide. She gave up her body. So Vidura asks, I want to know more. What is this family problem that caused Mother of this universe to give up her body? And then the description of that happens. And then fourth canto, eighth chapter onwards, till the 31st chapter, we see the lineage of the son of Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa, which is Uttanapad. And then the first 15 chapters of fifth canto, we see the lineage of the second son of Swayambhu Manu and Shatrupa, who was Priyavrat Maharaj. So this is how the five children of Swayambhu Manu's lineage is described. In this chapter 4.1, Maitreya Muni starts by mentioning that Akuti, she was married to Prajapati Ruchi and had two children, one boy, one girl. Boy was named Yajna and the girl was named Dakshina. Now, this boy and girl were actually expansions of Lakshmi and Narayan. They are eternal consorts in the spiritual realm. And Swayambhu Manu already put a condition to Prajapati Ruchi that whenever you have a son, you have to give him to me. Because Swayambhu Manu knew that Supreme Lord is going to descend in their womb. So Prajapati Ruchi gave the son to Swayambhu Manu. And when these children grew up, they were married together, right? Yajna and Dakshina. So now we might think Yajna and Dakshina are brothers and sisters. How isn't that very strange that they're getting married? But no, the understanding is that the Supreme Lord, and his expansions, they can come into this world in any form, in any relationships, right? But it doesn't these temporary relationships don't define their eternal positions as the eternal consorts. Right? In the spiritual world, eternally they are consorts of each other. In this world, they might choose to come from the same parents. Right? Just like Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa, both of them they come from Brahma only. From different angas of Brahma, these Prajapatis come. Now, both of them are coming from Brahma, but they marry each other and they create progeny, right? Similarly, it doesn't mean they're brothers and sisters in that sense as such, right? They are consorts and they are meant for that purpose. Now, Yajna and Dakshina, they beget 12 children who are called as Tushitas. They are one class of devatas, demigods. Now, so out of three daughters, we've seen Devahuti, we've seen Akuti's lineage, right? Devahuti lineage is further explained. In third canto, we just saw about the son of Devahuti, Kapila Muni. Now we'll see the daughters of Devahuti, right? The different daughters, 9 daughters of Devahuti, their lineage is mentioned from the 10th shloka till the 47th shloka of this verse, of this chapter. But in this stage, out of these nine daughters, one daughter is elaborately explained, and this was Mother Anasuya, who was married to Atri Muni. And Maitreya Muni tells Vidura that in the house of this Atri Muni, expansion of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh appeared. And Vidura asks, how is this possible? How did they appear in Atri Muni's house? And that is when Maitreya Muni expands by saying, so Atri Muni, who was married to Anasuya, daughter of Devahuti, he did tapasya for 100 celestial years to beget a son who was Jagadishwara, controller of the universe. And at the end of this tapasya, three personalities appeared in front of him in his house: Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. And Atri Muni said, I worshipped for one. I did tapasya for one. How come three appeared? And they explain that we are all controllers of universe. Now, Atri Muni didn't have this understanding of who is the controller of universe. He just said, whoever is the controller, you please come as my son. So the Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, they explained to Atri Muni that all three of us are controllers of different aspects of the creation. Brahma is responsible controller of creation, Vishnu is controller of maintenance, and Shiva is the controller of destruction. So we're all controllers of universe in this sense. So we've all come and we'll give our blessings to you in the form of our expansions appearing as your son. So Atri Muni accepted that. Brahma's expansion came as Soma, moon god. Vishnu's expansion came as Dattatreya Muni. And then Lord Shiva's expansion came as the famous uh, Durvasa Muni, right? He was the son of Atri. So these three people he got. And now, after the description of the 9 daughters of Mother Devahuti, then comes the description of the third daughter of Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa, who was Prasuti. Prasuti was married to Prajapati Daksha. Daksha means one who is expert in everything, right? So this uh, Daksha Prajapati was one of the foremost Prajapatis. And with Daksha Prajapati, Prasuti had 16 daughters. 13 daughters were married to a sage named Dharma. 14th daughter, Swaha, was given off to Agni. And we see this whole pastime of Swaha and Agni in the pastime of Arjuna fighting with his son Babruwahana. It's a very thrilling and suspenseful pastime, right? So there we see that Swaha was given off to Agni. And then the 15th daughter, Swataha, was given to the Pitris in Pitraloka. And the last daughter, Sati, was given to Lord Shiva, right? And in the next chapters, following chapters, we'll see the pastime of Mother Sati. Uh, so Maitreya Muni says Sati was the 16th daughter. She was very dear to Daksha, but she didn't have children. And Vidura asks, how come they did not have children? And that is when Maitreya Muni expands the pastime of Sati, Shiva, and Daksha from second chapter onwards till the 7th chapter. Okay? So this was the brief of the first chapter of the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. To summarize, the lineage of Akuti is mentioned, and then the lineage of the daughters of Mother Devahuti is mentioned, specifically Anasuya. Then the lineage of Prasuti, the third daughter, is mentioned in this chapter. It ends with the description of Mother Sati and how she did not have a child. And then the expansion of why that happened is what we see in the next 5 chapters of fourth canto, right? Now, like I explained, we are done with the difficult part of this class, right? All the names, the chapter numbers, all of that is done. The Falashruti is in the 47th shloka of this chapter, fourth canto, first chapter. Maitreya Muni tells Vidura, anybody who faithfully hears this narration of the descendants of Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa, right? those people get freed from all the sins that they have committed in all their lives, right? Now, this might seem very enticing, very attractive for all of us. Oh, wow, all my sins are removed, right? So, wonderful. Let's hear the future Bhagavatam classes also with this mood. But the understanding is this the highest glory that we want? Is this the highest benediction that we want? That just free me from all the sins and free me from all my karmas. That's all I want. Is this the highest that we can get from Harikatha, from Srimad Bhagavatam? Actually, in the fifth canto, towards the end, uh, Sukadev Goswami explains, gives the narration of all the hellish planetary systems to Parikshit Maharaj. Now, any of us who read that section of Srimad Bhagavatam, the only thought that runs in our mind, at least in my mind, while hearing that section is, how can I avoid this fate? What can I do to ensure I don't go through this suffering? But Parikshit Maharaj was a pure Vaishnava. He was Paradukka Dukki. The first thought that came in his mind, and the question he asked was, how can the living entities in this world avoid that fate, that suffering in those hellish planets? And Sukadev Goswami said they can avoid that by doing atonement, but by renouncing, by performing rituals and atoning for their sins, they will become sinless and they don't have to suffer in the hellish planet. Sukadev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj said, no, it does not make sense because they might atone for their sins, but the tendency to commit sins is still there, and they will continue committing sins. Right? They might take a dip in Ganga and come out purified, but they will again commit the same sins over and over again. So that doesn't seem like a foolproof solution. What is the real solution? Sukadev Goswami becomes happy and he says, "This was a test for you, whether you will accept the lower gift or you will want something higher." Right? Finally, Sukadev Goswami says, the only realistic and practical atonement for living entities in this material world is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari, Sri Krishna, and render loving devotional service to Him. That is the highest atonement. That is the only foolproof way of ensuring we don't suffer in this vicious cycle of karma in this material world, right? So we'll understand this a little bit more, right? How loving devotion to Krishna overcomes ritualistic atonement to overcome all our sins. How loving devotion is greater than atonement, right? And we will understand this through a very, very famous pastime of Sri Krishna from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 23rd chapter, which is the pastime of the wives of Brahmana of Mathura, who got the mercy of Krishna. And we'll discuss this pastime, well known, very famous pastime. And I will not elaborate on the pastime that much. We'll discuss more on the lessons because we've all heard the pastime, the flow itself. But along with this, recently I underwent a not so pleasant health experience as well, where I had a few kidney stones and I had to get operated for that. And I have certain reflections from that whole journey, certain lessons that I derived from that episode of my life. And I wanted to share all of that with you. So we'll discuss the pastime of the wives of Brahmanas, but I'll try to connect it with my reflections as well. And together, all of this we'll discuss to understand how devotional service is greater than atonement of our sins, right? So this pastime of 10 Canto 23rd chapter, it starts with uh, in Vrindavan, as usual, the Gopas, along with Krishna, they set out into the forest, and now they are grown up. Now they don't just go near their house in Gokul to graze the cows. They go far deep into the forest. And one day they had gone so deep that they had come to the outskirts of Mathura. And walking, by the time it was afternoon, the Gopas started feeling hunger. So they looked at Krishna and Balaram and they said, "Oh Krishna, oh Balaram, you know, you're so powerful, you're so strong, you're so glorious. You have killed so many demons. Putana, Shakatasur, Trinavarta, Aghasur, so many demons, right? Bakasur. But we will truly believe that you are powerful if you can kill the demon of hunger in our belly, right? So this was their sweet way of asking Krishna and Balaram that we are hungry, please give us food. Now, the commentators of Bhagavatam, they explain it was actually Gopas were not asking because they were hungry. They were asking because they thought we have not eaten anything from morning and we are walking. And if we are feeling this hunger, Krishna and Balaram are also feeling hungry, right? They must also be feeling hungry. Now, if we tell Krishna, Krishna, you're hungry, please go find food for yourself, Krishna will brush it off. Hey, I don't need it. We will just walk, we'll play later, we'll see. But if the Gopas say, Krishna, we are hungry, then out of love for the Gopas, Krishna will be obliged to stop and get some food and honor Prashadam. So that is why the Gopas say that we are hungry, give us food. And Krishna says, okay, fine. If you want food, nearby this place, there are a few brahmanas. They are yajnik brahmanas, very high class brahmanas who are preparing to do yajnas, and they have a lot of bhogas prepared, lot of prasadam. You go to them, you tell them Krishna Balaram have come nearby, and specifically tell them that Balaram has asked you to give some food. Right? So you take Balaram's name and ask for some prasadam and you bring it here. The Gopas become happy. They go to these brahmanas. So these cowherd boys, they all go to the Brahmanas. Now the Brahmanas are very busy doing their yajna, preparing for their yajna and all of that. Now the Gopas go and they say, Krishna Balaram has come and Balaram has asked to give some food. Please give some prasadam for them. And these cowherd boys, when they ask this, they see that Brahmanas are hesitating. And Sukadev Goswami says, in their mind, the Brahmanas are thinking, oh, this prasadam, it is meant for the yajna, to be offered in the yajna. How can we give it to these low class cowherd men, right? Cowherd boys, illiterate, uneducated. So then the cowherd boys, they understood the hesitation of the Brahmanas and they glorified the Brahmanas, saying, oh, you earthly gods, knower of religion, knower of Vedas, please understand that when hungry children come to you, it is okay to give them that prasadam, even if you have not offered in the yajna. And they quote scriptural references to try and convince them to get that yajna. And they glorify these brahmanas. But it is mentioned that brahmanas forget about acknowledging the gopas. They don't even say yes or no. They just ignore the gopas and continue in their yajna preparation. And these cowherd boys, they try and try and try. And when they see there is no result, they become very dejected and they come back. They come back home. They come back to the forest to meet Krishna and Balaram. Sukadev Goswami actually calls these brahmanas as uh, fools and people full of material desires, right? Because they could not understand what they're losing. Now the Gopas came back and they very dejected, very sad, head down. They go to Krishna and Balaram and they say, "Sorry, Krishna Balaram, we are not able to get anything." Krishna and Balram look at them and they start laughing, laughing so hard. And Krishna looks at each of those Gopas and he's so happy, he's smiling so much looking at them that the Gopas, just by looking at the smile of Krishna, their hearts become satisfied. And Krishna tells them, don't worry, this time you go to the wives of those Brahmanas. Those wives are my pure devotees and they will give you the prasadam. But when you go to them, just tell them Krishna and Balaram are here. Don't tell them anything else, and they will give you prasadam. Now, why Krishna did this? Why, when Krishna sent the Gopas to the Brahmanas, he told them, tell Balaram is asking for prasadam. But now, when he's sending them to the wives of Brahmanas, he's telling, don't even tell we are hungry, just tell we are nearby. It is because Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardana. He's seated as Paramatma in our heart. He understands our mood. And ye yata mam prapatyante tam statevya bhajamiham. To the degree of our surrender, he reciprocates. He understands these ethnic Brahmanas are very much caught up with the Varnashrama system, right? They will think that, oh, Brahmanas are superior. There's Yadavas and cowherd boys, right? They're not that great, right? They're not that elevated in the social status. So these Vaishya boys, right? They're not that great. But if he takes Balaram's name, Balaram is a Kshatriya. Even Krishna is seen as the son of Nanda Maharaj, who is a Vaishya from the cowherd community. But Balaram is the son of Vasudev, who is a Kshatriya. So he tell a Kshatriya is asking so that Brahmanas are meant to be obliged towards Kshatriyas and they might give. But even that doesn't work. But when he's sending them to the wives of Brahmanas, he knows they are pure, spontaneous devotees of Krishna. So he tells them, just tell we are here. Because if you tell them we are hungry, their heart will be distressed. And I don't want to cause that distress to them. So just tell them we are here. So the Gopas went, but they were so enthusiastic to do their service that they thought we should not leave any stone unturned in ensuring that, Krishna is Balaram are fed. So they go to the wives of the Brahmanas, they go to the homes, and these wives were working in the background. They were doing cooking since morning. So they go to these wives and they say, Krishna Balaram are here in the forest and they are so hungry and they are almost going to faint. So you please give them prasadam. These wives of Brahmanas, they could not tolerate this. They immediately stopped whatever they were doing. They jumped up. They prepared so many vessels of prasadam. They picked it up. They said, you small boys will not be able to carry it. We'll come with you. And they all took that prasadam. So we'll stop here and we'll reflect upon some of the lessons that we can learn from this until this portion, right? Firstly, we can see this episode shows how, as preachers, we should approach important people in this material world. And in the material world, everybody thinks they are important. Whether they are actually important or not, they think we are important. Now, how did the Gopas approach the Brahmanas? They glorified them. But why did they glorify them? It was not to flatter the Brahmanas, it was to serve Krishna. So, when we go in front of important people in this material world, we should be conducive. We should approach them with humility. We should try to glorify them in a realistic manner, not to flatter them, but to engage them in the service of the Lord. But the understanding is, even if we are not able to engage them in the service of the Lord, like the Gopas failed to engage Brahmanas in Krishna's service, but still Krishna was pleased upon them because they sincerely endeavored. Right. Similarly, even if we fail in our preaching endeavors, if our endeavor is sincere, Krishna is pleased. So success in spiritual life is not measured by results. It is not measured by numbers, by metrics. Success in spiritual life is measured by the quality of our endeavor, the sincerity of our endeavor. That is what pleases Krishna the most. And that is why he was very happy with the Gopas. The second lesson we learn is the Brahmanas became so attached to the rules and regulation that they forgot what is the purpose of those rules. Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrit, he says, Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyamcha shadvir bhaktir vinashyati. He says that there are 6 things which destroys bhakti. One of them is niyamagraha, over attachment, rules and endeavors, rules and regulations, right? These Brahmanas were learned scholars who knew all the Vedas. But what is the purpose of studying Vedas? Vedescha sarver ahameva vedo. Veda comes from the lotus mouth of Krishna, and the purpose of studying Vedas is to know who is Krishna and to serve him. But they are not doing that. They are performing these grand, elaborate yajnas. What is the purpose of yajnas? Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, Yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhosi tadasi yat tapashyasi kaunteya tat kurushvamadarpanam. He says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever activities you perform, whatever charity you give, whatever austerities you're doing, do all of it as an offering unto me, which again they forget here, right? So that's the second lesson, that we shouldn't become so attached to rules and regulation that we forget the purpose of it. That I'm chanting my 16 rounds because I've given a commitment to my guru. I've taken shiksha levels. We get so attached to it that we forget why we are chanting in the first place. We should try to avoid that. The third lesson is, why did they forget the purpose of those rules and regulations? Because they became proud, right? Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. Knowledge comes from the culmination of knowledge, or the symptom of knowledge is humility, right? It's very interesting. In Sanskrit, knowledge means gyan, right? And humility is vinayata, vinay. So if you take V from vinayata and add it to gyan, it becomes vigyan. But if you take the syllable from ahankar and add it to gyan, it becomes agyan. So what decides our knowledge gyan becomes realization, or our knowledge becomes illusion, is whether we cultivate humility or we cultivate pride, right? So now I will connect this to the experience that I went through, right? So on the morning of 16th July, I woke up with shooting pain in my lower back on one side. And it was so painful, I just popped gastric tablets, painkillers, whatever I could get in my hand. I couldn't tolerate it. And till afternoon, the pain was there. And spoke to a few relatives. They suggested a few medicines, tried that. By evening, it was so painful again. Another episode of pain came, and my parents said, "We will take you to the clinic nearby. We'll see it. He'll just give a painkiller and it'll be fine." So I asked, "When will the doctor come?" They said he'll come by 6:30. I said, "What if he doesn't come? I can't tolerate this. I don't think I can survive today if he doesn't come. You call him up and find out if he's coming." So we called this local doctor, and he said, "Yes, I'm coming. For now, you have a painkiller tablet. I will come and give you a painkiller injection." Right? But then we spoke to one of our relatives in our native, who was a doctor, neighbor of our relative, and she said that, "No, this looks like a stone. Why don't you check?" So immediately we called up Rikesh Prabhu, Rajiv Lochan Prabhu, and Rajiv Lochan Prabhu, he mentioned, "Come immediately, come to the hospital, let's get it checked." And we went, we met the doctor there, and he prescribed a few scans. We got all those scans done. And then multiple stones were diagnosed, especially in my left kidney. there was a 7 mm hyperdense calculus, which we call as a stone, in my left kidney, and there were 5.6 mm stones in my left, on the top of my left ureter, and all of that. And this was causing, hydroureteronephrosis, which is obstruction in the functioning of the kidney, inflammation or swelling of kidney, right? So they said, no, immediately you have to treat this. We can't leave it like that. Now, what are the reflections from this, learning that I had, this experience that I had? First reflection I had was the stones that I had, it represents the anarthas, right? Now, this stone is not visible to the naked eye, but I was carrying these stones for, months together, right? Similarly, there are some anarthas which might not be visible to our naked eye. For materialistic people, the anarthas are very, very visible. They are gross anarthas. But for practicing sadhakas, we don't have gross anarthas. We don't do intoxication. We don't do meat eating. We don't do outright sinful activities like that. But still, we tend to carry subtle pride, subtle anarthas, which does not meet the eye, which we are not able to see outside, right? Just like the Brahmanas, the ethnic Brahmanas, they were not doing any sinful actions as such. But because of the subtle pride that they were carrying in their heart, they could not serve Krishna. Similarly, we also tend to have this subtle pride which we don't realize. Now, why is it important to acknowledge that subtle pride and remove it? It's mentioned that when Bhakti Lata Bija is sown in our heart, for any seed to grow, we need fertile soil. If you put a seed on tar road, it won't grow, right? So that fertile soil is the Vaishnava qualities. And when Bhakti Lata Bija is sown in a soft, tender heart, which is filled with fertile soil of Vaishnava qualities, the Bhakti Lata Bija grows. But along with Bhakti Lata Bija, so many weeds also grow. And unless we find those weeds and remove those weeds, then the sunlight of Krishna's mercy will be absorbed more by the weeds than the Bhakti Lata Bija itself. And the weeds will grow, unwanted weeds, but Bhakti Lata Bija will not be nourished, right? So it's important for us to identify those subtle anarthas and remove them. Otherwise, many times we also complain that we have been chanting from 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years, but those anarthas still remain. Still, I get angry. Still, I get envious. Still, I feel lusty. Why is this happening? Why is that Harinam not acting on me? In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is mentioned, forget about 5 years, 10 years, or even 100 years. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Bahu janma kare yadi shravana kirtan, tabu na paya Krishna pade premadan. Even if we perform Shravan and Kirtan for lifetimes together, even then we will not get the lotus feet of Krishna if we don't address the anarthas in our heart. Right? So that's the first lesson I could derive. The second lesson I could derive is that we should go to the bona fide source. If we don't go to the bona fide source, we'll continue struggling. If instead of speaking to Rajiv Lochan Prabhu and going to the right doctors, speaking to the doctors, if I'd just taken another painkiller, momentarily that pain would have been addressed, but maybe it would have become far more serious, right? If I'd not addressed it, if I'd not gone to the right source. Similarly, in this pastime also, the Gopas, they went to Brahmanas, but they could not, it did not help them in their service to Krishna. But when they went to the wives of Brahmanas, who were the right source, then they were able to serve the Lord, right? So in our life also, in our spiritual life, it's very important that we go to the bona fide source. Actually, according to the World Honey Association, they did a research, extensive research for years together, and they found out it takes 12 honeybees their entire lifetime to make 1 tablespoon of honey, which means one honeybee is traveling, it's going to millions of flowers, traveling through thousands of miles, all its life, extracting nectar only to get 1/12 the tablespoon of a honey. And we just open a Dabur honey, thing, and we just eat it without realizing what effort has gone through. This analogy was quoted by Nanda Maharaj when Gargamuni comes to his place, right, for the Namakarana Samskar of Krishna and Balaram. There, Nanda Maharaj glorifies Gargamuni by saying, Vaishnavas like you are like honeybees. Because as Grahasthas, we don't have the time to study all the Shastras and understand the meaning. But Vaishnavas like you go through the entire scriptures, entire Shastras, and you extract the finest condensed nectar of honey from those Shastras, the essence which is Krishna Bhakti, and you travel from one place to the other, giving that honey of Krishna Bhakti to everybody. That is why you Vaishnavas are glorious, right? So we should understand this, and whenever there is an opportunity to hear from pure Vaishnavas, realized Vaishnavas, we should always take that up. We should value the association of Vaishnavas, right? And if we don't go to the right source, we'll keep struggling in this material world. There's this very beautiful pastime that once Srila Prabhupada, in the early days of ISKCON, one of his first disciples was Malati Mataji, and she had a daughter, a small daughter. She was very small at that time. Her name was Saraswati, 3-year-old Saraswati. This Saraswati had a small Krishna toy. She always used to play with that Krishna toy. One day, Prabhupada, when other disciples were also there, Prabhupada walked into the room. When Saraswati was not there, he picked the toy and he hid the toy behind his back. And he told all the disciples, shh, don't tell her. Now Saraswati came there. She asked her mother, where is my toy? I'm not able to find. She asked other Prabhuji, Prabhu, where is toy? Where is toy? She's asking everybody, where is it? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? And then when she was not able to find it, she started crying profusely. And she sat down there saying, Krishna, where is my Krishna? Where is my Krishna? Prabhupada looked at all those disciples and he said, see, this is how we are supposed to cry for Krishna when we chant. So this girl was crying profusely. Now Malti Mataji's heart is sinking. On one hand, her daughter is crying profusely. On the other hand, she's not able to tell her daughter that Prabhupada has it, because then it will be Guru Avagya. Guru has instructed, don't tell. So Malti Mataji is thinking what to do. Then Malti Mataji tells, Saraswati, beta, who in this room do you think has Krishna with them? Right? Who has the ability to give Krishna to us? Who has Krishna and they can give Krishna to us? Now, Saraswati thought, what does this mean for a while? Then her eyes popped to Prabhupada. Prabhupada's face were tears coming down her face, tears rolling in her eyes. She looked at Prabhupada and she said, Prabhupada, please give me my Krishna. Uh, Hare Krishna, is my audio coming across?
Yeah, it is fine now, Prabhu. Earlier
Oh,
it
it's better,
broke
Prabhu.
in between.
Okay,
It is
I'll
fine now.
just see if, yeah, it's better, right?
It's better, Prabhu.
Yes,
No?
Prabhu.
Okay.
Yes,
So
Prabhu.
yeah, so Saraswati looks at Prabhupada and she cries and she tells, she tells Prabhupada that please give me Krishna. And then Prabhupada, he takes up that toy from behind and he gives it, to this small girl. And she takes that toy, she becomes happy, and she runs away. Now, the lesson is that when she went to the right source, she got Krishna, right? Similarly, if we go to the right source, we'll get the real wealth. Otherwise, we'll keep suffering in this material world, right? So we'll move ahead in the past time. So these Gopa boys, they go to the Brahmana wives, and these Brahmana wives take a lot of these vessels and they start running towards the forest where Krishna and Balaram are there. Now the Brahmanas stop them, saying, "You cannot go. It is not social norm that the wives in the house they just run into the forest to meet somebody like that. You can't do that. You can't, and we don't allow you to go." But they said, okay, whatever is the consequences of it, we don't care. We have decided we will go. We'll just go and serve. After that, even if we are not, we are rejected by the society and we have to give up this body. We don't mind. But this one opportunity to serve Krishna, we have to go. And they all went. And Bhagavatam describes they went and met Krishna, just like so many streams of rivers goes and meets ocean. Like that, they all went and reached the destination of the lotus feet of Krishna. Right now, again, and why did they get so much faith to say no to their husbands, to their brothers, to their relatives, and even go to the forest? It is because they developed devotion. And how did they develop devotion? Because these wives of brahmanas, they would go into the market to buy fruits, flowers, vegetables, and in the market the gopis of Vrindavan also would come. And the gopis, wherever they go, they only talk about Krishna's pastimes. So these wives of brahmanas heard about Krishna and Balaram and their pastimes from the gopis, from the pure devotees. And because of that, they developed spontaneous devotion. Because of that devotion, they were able to go and get the opportunity to serve the Lord. Right? Now, again, the lessons that we can derive from this, right? Why did the gopis go, right? In spite of all the obstruction. Now, when I was diagnosed with these stones, the doctor said like we have to go undergo a procedure, and we got ready for the procedure. I was taken into the OT in the ICU, and then the first thing they did was they said, we are going to give you anesthesia. Right? So they put the ventilator on my nose and they gave the dose of anesthesia. And then they did the surgery of removing anarthas. Right? Now imagine if to remove a stone that I've been carrying from just a few months, it is so painful that they cannot do without anesthesia. They cannot remove that stone without anesthesia. Then what to speak about those anarthas that we are carrying in our subtle body from lifetimes together? If those anarthas have to be removed, then Krishna has to give anesthesia. And that anesthesia that Krishna gives us when he removes our anartha during the anartha nivriti process, that anesthesia is Vaishnava Sangha, the association of Vaishnavas, which gives us the immunity from the pain of anartha nivriti, from the pain of overcoming all the anarthas. Right? And our bhakti starts only when we meet Vaishnavas. The Madhurya Kadambini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he asks, how does bhakti start? And he gives answers to himself and he refutes those answers, gives another answer, refutes it again. He says, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, how does bhakti begin? Bhakti begins because of good fortune. Then how does one get good fortune? He writes, one gets good fortune by doing lot of sukriti, lot of punya karma in their previous lives. They get the sukriti to get bhakti. Then he only refutes saying, sukriti and punya karma are material deeds. How can something material give rise to spiritual rewards like bhakti? It is not possible. So pious deeds cannot give rise to bhakti. Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, maybe we get bhakti because of Krishna's mercy. Then he only refutes his answer by saying, if we get bhakti by Krishna's mercy, Krishna is not going to do inky, pinky, ponky and decide, okay, you take mercy. He will not do that. Everybody should be devotees if we get by Krishna's mercy, because Krishna is sammoham sarva bhuteshu. He's equivalent to all the living entities, right? He's not partial. So it's not even Krishna's mercy because of which we get bhakti. Finally, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, we get bhakti because some lifetime somewhere we met a Vaishnava. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, this is the perfect reason. This is the only logical reason why we have any ounce of devotion in our heart. Right? That is why it is said, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sangha, Krishna Prema Janameteho Punaha Mukhya Anga. Right? So Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sangha. The root of Krishna Bhakti to appear in our heart is Sadhu Sangha, right? The association of devotees. That is why Bhagavatam says, Tulayama lavenapi na swargam na punarbhavam. Even little bit, lavamatra, little bit of association of the Vaishnavas, Bhagavat Sangi Sangasya, the associates of the Lord and the Vaishnavas, even little bit of their association is Tulayama lave na api. It should not be compared with the pleasures of the heavenly planets or even liberation itself. Right? Even momentary association is far greater than all of that. Now we might say that, Prabhuji, but we can't associate with Vaishnavas all the time. Sometimes we have to associate with office people, outside people. How do we deal with that? Prabhupada used to share the story, right, of monkey and the crocodile. Very famous story from the Panchatattva, I think. But I have personally read the story in my English textbooks as well in my school. So this is the story when a monkey and a crocodile are good friends, and monkey and crocodile play all the time. Now, the wife of crocodile realizes that my husband is good friends with a monkey. And one day the wife says, you bring the heart of that monkey to me. I want to eat its heart for dinner. And the crocodile says, no, he's my friend. How can I do that? The wife of crocodile says, you decide whether you want the monkey or you want me. If you don't bring the monkey, I'm going to my mother's place, right? I'll divorce you. I won't stay with you. Now the husband crocodile becomes very sad. In a very sad phase, he goes meets the monkey. The monkey looks at his friend. He becomes very happy, jumps from the branch into on the back of the crocodile, and they're playing. And the crocodile goes into the river, right? And then the crocodile is guilty. Monkey is talking so many things, but the crocodile is so overcome with guilt that crocodile decides, anyway, I'm doing this sinful thing. Let me at least tell this monkey what I'm doing and then do it. Some relief for my heart. So the crocodile tells the monkey, actually, I am not taking you for a dinner, right? The crocodile told the monkey that you please come, I will take you to my house for dinner, right? So he tells the monkey that I am not taking you for dinner. I am taking you because you are the dinner for my wife, right? That is why I'm taking you to our home, right? And she wants to eat your heart. The monkey says, oh, fool, why didn't you tell me before? Simply you just brought me like this. Actually, I forgot my heart on the branch of the tree, right? Now imagine if you take me like that, your wife kills me, she opens me up and she sees the heart not there. She'll become so angry with you. She will leave you, right? So you take me back, I will go to the tree, I'll get the heart and I will come back, right? So crocodile was a little dull-headed. The crocodile goes back, says, okay, okay, let's do that. It goes back. Now the monkey jumps into the tree again, on the branch of the tree, picks up a hard fruit and throws it on the crocodile and says, I'm never trusting you again. And it goes away, right? Prabhupada narrates this story, moral story, and he says that we might have to associate with the crocodiles of this world, with so many crocodiles of this world, but ensure to never give them your heart. Always leave your heart back home at the lotus feet of Shishi Gauranitai deities at your home. Never give your heart to these crocodiles of this material world, right? So that's one way how we can think about, ensuring that the positive effects we have of associating with Vaishnavas is not diluted by the association of non-devotees, right? His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, when he went to the US once, he had gone to the redwood forest. This forest has huge, tall trees on a hilly terrain. And these trees they are one of the oldest existing trees on the planet. Now, there was a guide who was addressing Chinese tourists. And this guide was telling, do you know how these trees are so tall, how they've grown so tall? One Chinese tourist said, maybe because the roots are so deep. The guide said, no, no, the roots are not at all deep, right? It's not because of that. Then the tourist gave different answers, but he was saying, no, no, none of this is the answer. Radhanath Maharaj became very interested. He went closer to that group to hear what is the real reason. And the guide said the real reason why these trees are not just surviving such harsh hilly terrains and harsh climate, harsh weather throughout the year, they're not just surviving it, but they're outgrowing it to be so tall, is because underneath the the roots are not very deep, but the roots are all interlocked. Every redwood tree is interlocked with all the other redwood trees, and they form an interlocked connection which is so strong that they withstand the weather and they feel nourished enough to grow. Similarly, in our lives as well, the storms of material world, storms of material life will keep hitting us throughout our life, but we are strongly connected, right? Then we get the strength to grow in our bhakti, right? So, in my experience as well, so many Vaishnavas made this whole process of this procedure very, very painless, right? They reduce that pain significantly. Especially Rajiv Lochan Prabhu, he treated us not as a person who runs a hospital, but as a father, right? Then so many devotees, so many of our members and so many devotees from the temple as well, they came to the hospital ward and they worked from there. They took office calls from there. They sat there, right? Some came in very midnight, right? Late in the night they came. There were few devotees who were not even in Bangalore. They're in Hyderabad, Chennai, but they organized these online Zoom meetings and Google Meet meetings where all the devotees came together and they sang Narsimha Kavacham prayers and all of that, so that the surgery goes well. So this is our real strength, right? This is our real wealth, the Vaishnava Sangha, right? This is the anesthesia that Krishna gives before he removes anarthas from our heart, right? I'll just take 10 more minutes to wrap up this pastime, and I hope that's okay with everybody, right? So the Kopas go to the Brahmana's wives. The Brahmana's wives come. They look at Krishna's beauty, beautiful form. He's wearing dazzling golden dhoti, blue uttari. He's having a flute in his hand. He's actually curling a lotus at that point, right? And with a sidelong glance, he looks at the wives of Brahmanas and he smiles upon them. And seeing those smiles, the Brahmanas' wives, they are completely satisfied. And he tells those Brahmana wives, yes, you bought Prashadam, please feed me. So the Brahmana wives, they make Krishna Balaram sit and all the Gopas sit, and to their heart's content, they feed Krishna and Balaram. And after Krishna Balaram have eaten fully, Krishna tells them that, okay, now I've had your prashadam. We've had this loving exchange. Now you please go back home. The Brahmana wife says, no, 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 we cannot go back. We have abandoned our family and the society and we've come here. If we go back, our husbands will not reject us. We will either give up our body here or we will stay in this forest as Vanadevatas so that whenever you come here and you perform your pastimes, we can witness them. We can have your association as Vanadevatas or as trees in this forest or even plants and birds and animals in this forest. But you please don't ask us to go back. Krishna tells them, no, you have to go back. You please understand that physical proximity with me does not mean you're getting my mercy. It does not mean you're close to me. Even if you're physically away from me, if you constantly think of me and if you constantly chant my holy names and do your duties diligently, then you are getting my mercy, right? So this was the other version of Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yuddhacha. Right? He tells Arjuna, Krishna tells Arjuna that remembering me, you do your duty of fighting this war. So this is another application of that verse where he's telling the wives of Brahmanas, go back and serve your husbands and serve the society, but do that thinking about me and chanting my holy names. And the wives of Brahmanas, they accept this and humbly, and they go back to their homes, right? Very fearful what fate is going to await them. But Krishna tells them, don't worry, I am seated as Paramatma in all your husband and all your brother and relatives' hearts. I will transform them. They will accept you. You go, right? So with that word, Brahmana wives, they go back, right? Now, again, uh, lessons to learn for us from this section, right? First lesson is, firstly, they went because Krishna called them. They went to the forest because Krishna called. Then they came back to their homes because Krishna said, go back. So whatever is Krishna's will, they are sincerely surrendering to that. Now, this is very important. After the Mahabharat war, Yudhishthir Maharaj feels a lot of guilt. Because of me, so many people have died. Bhima says, are you a fool? You know, for 13 years, we prepared for this war. We fought very hard. We lost so many people on our side. Everybody on their side is dead. And now you're saying you'll give up the throne and you'll go to the forest because you feel all this happened because of you. How is this possible? Right? Then all this is a waste. Yudhishthir says, hey, Bhima, you are innocent. You are very emotional. You don't understand the intricacies of dharma. It's very sinful. I can't do this. I have to go to the forest and renounce. Then Arjuna talks, Nakula, Sahadeva, Draupadi, all the Brahmanas. Krishna himself talks to Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir does not listen. Right? The Brahmanas, they even tell Yudhishthir Maharaj, if just by going to the forest, you will become liberated from all your sins, you will become, by renouncing in the forest, you'll become free from karma, then every animal in the forest should be liberated soul. But we know that's not the case, right? So just that renunciation will not help. You stay here. But Yudhishthir Maharaj could not accept. Krishna tells Yudhishthir Maharaj, go to Bhishma Dev and hear from him what to do. Yudhishthir Maharaj thinks, yeah, this is a good idea. Bhishma Dev is a very great personality. He'll give practical advice. Let me go. He goes to Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev talks on a lot of different topics, right? And he's addressing Yudhishthir Maharaj, but Pandavas and all the sages of the world are assembled there. And even Krishna is there. And Bhishma Dev tells everything. At the end, Bhishma Dev tells Yudhishthir Maharaj that just do whatever Krishna is asking you to do. He asked you to fight this war. He stood by you and he made you win this war. Now he's asking you to sit on the throne and rule Hastinapur. You do that. Just do what he says. Because by following his will, I can assure you that all auspiciousness will come. Now you might not understand how, but it will surely come. And he says, my life is the personal example of why following Krishna's will help. And then Bhishmadev, he quotes this. Tatapi ekanta bhakteshu pashyabu panukampitam yanme samstyadata sakshat Krishno darshanamagata. He says, Tatapi ekanta bhakteshu, by having one pointed devotion, by serving the Lord. And how did Bhishmadev serve the Lord? Bhishmadev served the Lord as an enemy. Nobody would want to do that. No Vaishnava would want to serve the Lord as an enemy, seeing the suffering of other Vaishnavas in front of his eyes. But Bhishmadev still did that. Why? Because it was Krishna's will, Krishna's desire. So Bhishmadev did that with one pointed devotion. And he says, Pashya Bhupanu Kampitam. O Maharaj, Yudhishthir, see what glory has bestowed upon me, how Krishna bestowed his mercy upon me, because I served him according to his will. He says, Yanme samstyadataha sakshat Krishna darshanam agataha. He says, now when I'm giving up my body, Sakshat Krishna has come to give his darshan to me, right? So that is the benediction, that is the auspiciousness one gets when we serve according to the will of the Lord. Now, how do we know what is the will of the Lord? That is possible when we study his instructions in the Bhagavad Gita under the instructions, under the guidance of Vaishnavas. Then we understand what is Krishna's will, what does Krishna want us to do. And when we follow according to that, we become liberated. Bhagavatam gives this analogy. When somebody drinks a lot of milk, it causes indigestion to them. But when that milk is transformed into curd, and when somebody takes curd, it cures that indigestion. Similarly, action, karma in this material world binds us in this material world. But when that action is transformed into action or service for Krishna, right? When that karma is transformed into karma yoga, that very action liberates us from this world. Right? So this is the analogy that Bhagavatam gives. And we see the wives of Brahmanas did that. They went back, right? And now when they went back, the Brahmanas, they accepted these wives. They fell at the lotus feet of their wives and they said, "You're great devotees. What is the purpose of our knowledge, of our scriptural understanding, all of these things? Because we failed to serve Krishna. You are so glorious. You got the mercy of the Lord. No, we will worship you." So this way they welcomed their wives. They brought them home and all of that, right? And then the Brahmanas had a meeting to understand what went wrong. Where did we go wrong? Why did we not serve the Lord like this? Why did we forget the import of the Shastras? And they had a long discussion together in the meeting. And you know how this chapter ends? This chapter, 10th Canto, 23rd chapter, ends with Sukadev Goswami telling Parikshit Maharaj that at the end of the meeting, the Brahmanas decided, let us all go to the forest to Krishna and Balaram right now and apologize to him for not serving him and beg his mercy. They decided this and they got up, but when they were walking, they thought, oh no, if we go to the forest, the spies of Kamsa are all around. And if they see us going towards Krishna, they will kill us. So out of fear of Kamsa, they did not go and they continued with their yajnas. Right? This is a very important lesson for all of us. After the end of my procedure, I met the surgeon and I asked him, "Doctor, I've heard that these stones, they tend to keep coming back. What am I supposed to do to avoid this pain again and not go through this again?" The doctor said, you should drink lots of water, you should do all these things, and you should not have these foods. You should not have tomato, dry fruits, badam, groundnut, all of these things he listed. He gave do's, he gave don'ts, and he said, if you follow this regularly, then it will not come again. Otherwise, again, this problem might come, right? So the lesson here is just realizations or experiences will not ensure that, you know, realizations will not ensure transformation. Transformation will only happen when we make the right choices every single day. When we convert the realization into right choices, then those right choices lead to transformation. Otherwise, we can keep going through realizations over and over again, like the Brahmanas went through, but it will not convert into transformation of heart, right? It's like trying to taste honey by licking a closed bottle of honey from the outside. No matter how much we lick, we'll never taste the nectar, right? So we need to consciously convert our realizations into smaller actions every single day. Like every day, consistently regulating our sadhana, chanting, hearing, all of this has to be consistent, right? And our sadhana is our real wealth. Sat Dhana Iti. It is our eternal wealth. This is what will ensure transformation in our heart. But what is this wealth all about, right? What is this sadhana that we do? What wealth is this? Krishna in the Puranas, he tells Arjuna, Trailokye Prithavim Dhanya Tatra Vrindavane Puri Tatra Tu Gopika Partha Tatra Radha Bida Mama. He says, Trilokya, out of all the three worlds, Prithvim Dhanya, this earthly planet is glorious. It's the topmost. And within the earthly planet, there are many places. Tatra Vrindavane Puri, the land of Vraj, is glorious. And within the land of Vraj, there are so many Vrajavasi devotees. Tatratu Gopika Partha. Among all the Vrajavasis, the gopis of the Lord are the topmost. And among the gopis, there are so many unlimited gopis. Tatra Radha Bidamama. Among them, Srimati Radharani is the topmost. She is the most glorious, right? And what is this Radharani made up of? Rupa Goswami in the Yugalashtakam, he says, Krishna Prema Mai Radha Radha Prema Mayo Hari Jivane Nidane Nityam Radha Krishna Gatir Mama. He says, Krishna Prema Mai Radha. Radharani's body is not made up of bones, muscles, blood, pus, stool, urine. No, her body is not made up of elements like our body. Her body is completely made up of Krishna Prema Mai Radha. Her body, her consciousness is filled with Krishna Prema. And Radha Prema Mayo Hari. Krishna is made up of love for Srimati Radharani. And Jivane Nidane Nityam. The eternal wealth of our life is Radha Krishna Gatir Mama, seeking shelter at the lotus feet of Radha Krishna. So this is the glory, the topmost glory of Radharani's love for Krishna. And how did we get that Radharani's love for Krishna? Because Krishna promised Radharani that I will come in a form where I will assume your mood and I'll give your love to the whole world. I'll distribute it to the whole world. In this form, this personality was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. यदि गौर न होइतो तबे की होइतो किमोने दरिताम दे राधेर महिमा प्रेम रस सीमा जगत जानतो के. If not for Mahaprabhu, how would we know the glories of the love that Srimati Radharani had for Sri Krishna? So that Golokera Premadana, the topmost wealth of Goloka Vrindavan, Sri Harinam Sankirtan, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bought. And what did he do with that greatest wealth? पात्र अपात्र विचार नहीं नहीं स्थान अस्थान ये न पायत तान करे कृष्ण प्रेमधन. Right? When it came to distributing this eternal wealth of Harinam Sankirtan, patra apatra vichara nahi. He did not distinguish whether somebody is qualified, somebody is not qualified. Nahi stan astan. He did not even see if this is the right place, right time, right circumstance, nothing. Yen ha paya tan ha kare Krishna premadan. Whomever, wherever he found, he distributed this eternal wealth to them just like that. Right? This is what Mahaprabhu did. Right? And how did he give it? When we give some very valuable gift to somebody, we package it with a gift wrapper. Right? Now, this was the greatest transcendental treasure of Goloka Vrindavan. So this also has to be packed in a transcendental spiritual gift wrapper. And the gift wrapper in which Mahaprabhu gave this wealth of Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna was Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So through this gift wrapper of Harinam, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he gave Srimati Radharani's love to us. And after him, his associates have given their blood and sweat to ensure that this gift is accessible to us even now in Kali Yuga. Today is the appearance day of Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, when he was beaten up in those 21 marketplaces, whiplashed, thrashed, humiliated, and he was asked to stop chanting the Hari name and propagating Harinam in everywhere. Haridas Thakur's reply was, Khanda Khanda Hai Deha Aya Yadi Pran Tabu Ami Vadane Na Chadi Harinam. He says, you can break my body into a millions pieces, but each one of those million pieces will not stop chanting the holy name of Sri Hari, right? And propagating the names of Sri Hari. And after him, Srila Prabhupada, he traveled all over to make this accessible to us. And His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, Guru Maharaj has the Guinness World Record for taking most number of flights in a calendar year. He's taken 160 to 165 flights. In spite of his health, so many commitments, so many things, successfully completed 55 glorious years of sannyas. And what is he doing? Distributing the same love that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bought from Srimati Radharani in Golok Vrindavan, right? So this is very, very accessible to us. We've got this. We've read through all of this, right? Now, when we hear narrations of Srimad Bhagavatam, like the descriptions of Swayambhu Manu and all his lineage and their dynasty, we can either hear that to atone our sins and overcome our sin, all the sins we've done in the past, or we can hear that for a higher gain of developing, loving devotional service to the Lord, and not just realizing it, but translating that into action by sincerely, adhering to our sadhana every single day and getting the mercy of the Lord. If we're able to do this, Bhagavatam says the wives of the Brahmanas never met Krishna ever again in their life. But still, the Bhagavatam, it declares the wives of the Brahmanas as pure devotees of the Lord who succeeded their life. And we can also succeed our life, walking in their footsteps if we just learn these lessons, right? So I'll stop here. I know I've overshot time as we discussed about Harikatha in the beginning. But yeah, any questions, any comments, or any corrections, please let me know.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I think as usual, it was a wonderful class. You have shared your experiences and you have put so nicely and you have given ultimately, we have to do our sadhana very sincerely and all the hearing should translate into our actions by performing sincere sadhana. Thank you very much, Prabhu. It usually takes a wise person to understand, though unqualified, but no, it was very informative. It was really relishing. The Bhagavatam from your lotus mouth, like your mouth, it flows so freely and it is so engaging for all of us to hear this Krishna Katha. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Oh, Paramahansa Mercy, thank you so much for overlooking the faults and giving the opportunity.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you Prabhuji for the wonderful class as usual. Your class is a feast for us and we always look forward to have your association. We are very fortunate Prabhu that we could hear this class and please bless us so that we can, whatever we hear and whatever, Vaishnava says to us, we are able to bring, practically to our life because, we have this tendency to forget. We will hear, but we will forget it very fast. So please bless us so that we can remember your points and we can bring this practically to our life. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. I'm dependent on all your blessings. We'll all pray for each other, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
So, Prabhu, again, I second with the devotees' point of view. It was nectarian to listen. And then, number one, one thing that I keep realizing when I hear from you is, how the instructions of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is practically applied or translated in the Bhagavatam Katha, right? In all these pastimes. And then, yeah, it kind of establishes that practical application, Bhagavad Gita. So maybe that's why it's so important to first of all theoretically understand Bhagavad Gita and practical application through Bhagavatam and how you are, seamlessly connecting with Chaitanya Charitamrita in pastimes of Mahaprabhu as well. So it was amazing and blissful, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yes, very important that we internalize these teachings. Over to you, Soumya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, a small request to all the devotees.